As Domestic Violence Week draws to a close, there's a special phone-in later with Sherry Booth. Plus, all the latest from Dancing on Ice. That's this morning at 10:30.
Good morning. Breaking news you're waking up to. 5 men have been charged under the Terrorism Act in Birmingham. They were arrested during the alleged kidnap and execution plot.
And bird flu spreads. An investigation is launched into the alleged illegal importation of turkeys into Britain as 3 more buildings in Suffolk test positive for the deadly virus.
And dead at 39, we have reaction from Hollywood as model Anna Nicole Smith collapses and dies in a Florida hotel room. That's all to come on Friday, February the 9th, 2007.
Hello, good morning. You're watching the News Hour. It's just gone 6 o'clock.
Also to come on the programme, why a million school children were kept at home yesterday due to the snowy weather. Are school bosses being overcautious because they're scared of being sued?
And turn up the heat and prepare for the price war after months of sky-high bills. Can we all look forward to cheaper gas and electricity?
Driving conditions are treacherous this morning as the snow freezes, turning into black ice. And news in the last hour of more snow showers heading in. Claire's on the roof.
Hello, good morning you two. Yes, it's another tricky day on the roads. We're expecting a more patchy, dense freezing fog across the Midlands, East Anglia as well as the south, and also icy conditions right across much of Britain this morning. We're seeing the snow which was over the south last night, now slowly moving its way northwards and currently across the southwest of Scotland, mostly light and patchy this morning. Northwest Scotland seeing the best of the weather as well as western areas of Northern Ireland. In the east of Northern Ireland you'll see some rain, and rain now spreading in across the southwest of England, and it's turning to snow because the air is so cold. So this morning there could be more snow on the cards for southern parts of Wales and heading across to some parts of the West Country. I'll give you more details in 25 minutes back to the studio.
Claire, thanks very much. Our top story. Within the last few hours, West Midlands Police have charged 5 men with terrorism offences after last week's raids in Birmingham. They'll appear before magistrates this morning. Tiffany Royce is in Birmingham. Tiffany.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Penny. Well, the 5 men will appear before Coventry magistrates charged with offences under the Terrorism Acts of 2006 and 2000. They're aged 29, 30, 31, 36 and 43. A 38-year-old man has been released without charge. Another man is still in custody. This morning, police have until 4 a.m. on Saturday to question him. Now, the 9 men were arrested last Wednesday of what senior security sources say was an alleged plot to kidnap a member of the armed forces. 2 other men were released without charge earlier in the week. I spoke to one of them, Abu Bakr. He said that he felt the UK had become a police state for Muslims. He felt he'd been targeted because he was a Muslim, and he said his privacy had been invaded. Well, West Midlands Police will hold a press conference later today to reveal more details about these charges.
Tiffany, thank you.
The other big story this morning is the expected travel disruption over the next few hours with widespread icy patches on untreated roads. This is the latest satellite picture we've got in for you. You can see that snow, I think it's snow anyway, coming in across the UK. There's more snow moving into South Wales and the Midlands. Rachel Harrison has all the information.
Yes, good morning, John. Well, the situation here at Charbury says that all the powder snow that fell yesterday has literally overnight turned to ice. It's like walking on a skating rink here this morning, and it's not just the roads, it's the pavements as well, which means, I'm afraid, we've seen temperatures around the country from -4 down to around -2, which means more problems once again for commuters and people trying to get to work and to school. Now, the High Roads Agency had 400 gritters out overnight, but they're still urging people to stay at home if at all possible today. They say they're worried about ice and freezing fog patches, so the less people on the roads means less chance of accidents. And also lots of the minor roads still haven't been treated this morning. Now, we've also heard that school children in Birmingham and in Worcestershire are having a good day today because once again all the council-run schools have shut due to the cold snap. But it's not good news for British businesses. This cold snap weather has meant that more than £400 million has been lost due to productivity, just because people can't get to work or certainly have been late. There are also problems on the rails today. If you're thinking of travelling, check with your rail operator first. Virgin say there are problems on some of their services, and other rail operators say due to the frozen conditions there could be frozen points, which means cancellations and more delays. And if you want to know when it will end, I'm afraid if you're on Wales, the Midlands or the Peak District, there's more snow forecast for tonight.
Rachel, thanks very much indeed.
Let's get this morning's other news stories now from Simon. Thanks very much. Good morning. The government says the bird flu outbreak at a Bernard Matthews farm in Suffolk may be linked to imports of turkey meats from Hungary. It also emerged traces of the H5N1 virus were found in 3 other sheds on the Suffolk farm. Well, Sue Jameson is in Suffolk for us this morning. Sue.
Yes, good morning. Well, it's thought the outbreak may have been caused by an import of dead turkeys from a Bernard Matthews-owned plant in Hungary. New tests show that the strain found in the birds in Suffolk may be identical to a strain found in Hungary in geese. And geese on an infected farm in southern Hungary were destroyed last month. Now, DEFRA has confirmed that partly processed turkey had been transported by lorry from Hungary to this Suffolk farm each week right up until the time of the outbreak. And DEFRA also says the latest tests seem to indicate that this is an infection which has been passed from poultry to poultry rather than, for example, wild birds, which does at least seem to isolate it a bit. Now, also tests show that birds in 3 other sheds on the Bernard Matthews farm show strains of the H5N1 virus, because up until now it was thought birds in just 1 shed out of the 21 on the farm had been infected, but of course tests are going on, could be confirmed in other sheds too. Now, Bernard Matthews is saying its products are still safe to eat and has issued a statement saying Bernard Matthews continues to work closely with DEFRA to assist with its ongoing investigation. We're cooperating fully, and as a precautionary measure, we have volunteered to cease any movements to and from Hungary. Back to you.
Sue, thank you. A Muslim activist who hit the headlines after heckling the Home Secretary will appear in court today charged with a terrorism offence. 31-year-old Abu Izzadeen faces a charge of encouraging an act of terrorism. It's understood to relate to a speech he made in Birmingham last year. A post-mortem examination will be carried out today on the former model Anna Nicole Smith, who was found dead last night at a hotel near Miami at the age of 39. Carla Romano reports.
She was the former Playboy centerfold who married an 80-year-old billionaire. Loved by the tabloids, she lived her life in the media spotlight. And now her death has put her back in the headlines.
Anna Nicole Smith died today.
Now to the shocking and mysterious death of Anna Nicole Smith.
Anna Nicole collapsed at the Hard Rock Hotel in Hollywood, Florida. A private nurse called emergency services after finding Smith unresponsive in her 6th-floor room. Her bodyguard tried to resuscitate her, but an hour later, she was declared dead.
At 2:49 this afternoon, we were advised by hospital personnel that Anna Nicole Smith had died.
This latest tragedy comes just 5 months after the apparent drug-related death of Anna Nicole's 20-year-old son, Daniel.
I think we all think it's tragic, but I don't think it's all that much of a surprise. We have seen these kinds of things come down the pike in Hollywood before.
The big question now is what will happen to Anna Nicole's 5-month-old baby daughter, Daniel Lynn. At the time of her death, she was embroiled in a bitter legal battle with former boyfriend Larry Birkhead, who was demanding DNA testing to prove whether or not he was the child's father. An autopsy is due later today. Carla Romano, GMTV News, Los Angeles.
Anna Nicole Smith, who died aged 39 last night. GMTV has obtained pictures of the hero's welcome given to one of the American pilots involved in the friendly fire incident in Iraq, which killed British soldier Matty Hull. They show Colonel Gus Contop being reunited with his family and friends after his return from Iraq. He told the magazine flying in Operation Iraqi Freedom had been the epitome of his career. Dame Helen Mirren and her film The Queen have continued their award-winning run. They've scooped 4 more trophies at the London Film Critics Circle Awards. The Queen has already won 2 Golden Globes and secured 10 BAFTA and 6 Oscar nominations.
It's a great honour, and you know, many people said it tonight, but it has been a really strong year for British film, and let's hope that it keeps going and just gets better and better.
take a look at what's on the website this morning for you. The latest travel updates if you're planning to go out and about. Scientists question whether you should wait until you're 25 to get a smear test. And the facts on diagnosing medical problems online. All this and more on GM.TV and also on your mobile. It's 6 now. It's back to you, John and Penny. Thanks very much. Let's have a quick look at the front pages. And the Times has that's at Eton, playing the Eton ball game, snowball game. Bernard Matthews faces illegal imports inquiry. The Independent has, for the first time, Sunni insurgents disclose their conditions for a ceasefire in Iraq. If America wishes to negotiate withdrawal from our country, we will negotiate. The Guardian has this story here. It's an incredible story about a new technology, which means that when they scan your brain, you can actually read your intention, what you intended to do over in the future, over the next few days.
How terrifying.
Yes, because of course it's coming up to Valentine's Day, John,
yes,
and I know you've been intending to do it, so Lincoln check.
I'll be away.
The Daily Telegraph, schools turn 1 million children away, says that, of course, lots of fun for children.
In the Pops, the Sun leads on the death of Anna Nicole. That's their front page story there. Bird flu is Bernard Matthews to blame is a headline in the Daily Mail. In the Express, they go with the weather. It's not over yet, say more snow and ice, but a ray of sunshine for some. And finally, in the Daily Mirror there, dead at 39, Anna Nicole Smith once again. But it's the back page that interests me in the Daily Mirror this morning. Triads will kill QPR. That's there's a result of a brawl. That's all we can call it. A QPR investigation underway now after a practice match turned into, well, the most appalling incident. It happened at the club's training ground on Wednesday and gives really new meaning to the phrase kickabout. It's awful, violent stuff. Chinese player had a suspected broken jaw, and the FA has confirmed it's looking into them. This is a friendly, for heaven's sake, at their training ground against an Olympic team from China. Oliver Holt from the Daily Mirror joins us. What on earth is going on?
It's not been a particularly happy stay for the Chinese Olympic team. I think that there have already been some kerfuffle about. They were being hosted by Chelsea, and there were complaints that you know, Chelsea's Cobham training ground wasn't good enough for them. So I think they're a slightly stroppy lot by the sound of it.
Well, QPR don't look as though they're exactly on a peace offensive, do they?
No, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. Cameras out. I mean, it shows you these games. You know, Dermot Gallagher's the referee of this game, which is clearly taking part at the QPR training ground.
I mean, we smiled, but one guy was unconscious for 5 minutes.
I know. Yeah, and the guy walking off with the broken jaw. I mean, it was clearly not a very friendly, and as I say, not a happy stay for the Chinese Olympic team.
Well, presumably there'll be repercussions, and there is talk of you know, QPR actually sacking some of those responsible, if indeed they're found guilty. Let's have a look at the fixtures this weekend. Oliver, Manchester United and Chelsea in action. We haven't got that available to us. Chelsea play Middlesbrough, of course. Manchester United play Charlton. My loss are at Portsmouth. What do you fancy? Well, actually, West Ham-Watford, that's the key one, isn't it?
I think West Ham-Watford's the game of the day in many ways. I mean, I think this time of the year now, games are starting to run out. Time's starting to run out for teams at the top and the bottom. You know, at the top, it's hard to see Man U dropping any points to Charlton. And that's the only story there. Are Man U going to drop points? That's what it's about at the top. At the bottom, that's must win for West Ham. If they don't win that, then, you know, really you can't see much of a way out for them.
And our Ben Shepherd, who's a West Ham fan, so they've got Charlton coming up as well, so these are really crucial games for West Ham.
They are. I think they've got Wigan, they've got Charlton and Wigan coming up, so 3 massive games, and this is the first one of those 3. They've got to win it.
Let's have a look at the Six Nations, of course. Hoping Wilco can do well, it's not going to be that difficult against Italy, is it, for him?
It shouldn't be. I mean, that should be a fairly straightforward game, and I guess the thing with Wilkinson is let's hope he avoids injury and just gets a good run going. I think a lot of eyes will be on Ireland, France on Sunday because it's Croke Park. And
Ireland are favourites.
Yes.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will set up a bit of a crunch with England a couple of weeks after that.
Yeah.
Also at Croke Park, so that'll be massive. But England, I guess it's just about building on the fantastic morale booster, really, of the game against Scotland and starting again where we left off.
Good to leave you there. Enjoy your weekend, wherever it may be. Oliver, good to see you.
Thanks, John.
Time is 14 minutes past 6. British Gas has given in to criticism and cut bills for the first time in 7 years. Consumer groups have called for its rivals to follow suit. And for many customers, it's about time.
And it did hike up quite a bit, so it's quite nice to know, especially for the people who can't afford heating.
I think everybody else is going to follow suit. You know, I think there will probably be a price war in the short term.
It wouldn't tell me to go back because I'm an environmentally friendly provider, and that's more important to me at the moment.
I shall look around and make comparisons. I think it's quite high, but you don't really have an option, do you?
Any reduction is fantastic, any reduction. But let's hope they keep their promise.
Yes, well, someone who's welcomed the news is Energy Watch's Chief Executive Alan Asher, who joins me now. Good morning.
Good morning.
I mean, it is great news, isn't it?
Well, it's great news and a great start, but I have to say there's a long way to go.
Why do you say there's a long way to go?
Well, wholesale prices, that is the price that British Gas and all the other suppliers pay, they've been falling for almost 9 or 10 months. They've fallen about 50%, and so this price reduction, most welcome at 17%, but as I say, there's a long way to go, this company and the other 5.
It's funny how they're very quick to put prices up and very slow to bring them down, isn't it?
Well, I think that there's a lot to that, and that we're going to be on the case for all of the others till they do that, and till we think it's reasonable.
Do you think, so the other ones will have to follow suit, won't they?
Well, they will, but that's partly because it's a rather cosy set in the UK, I'm afraid. The companies all are very, very cosy, and they're not really subjected to much competition, and so when the big one does something, all the others follow pretty quickly.
What about the thousands of consumers who've signed up to deals to keep the prices at a certain level, particularly when they must have known, these companies, that prices were falling?
Well, they certainly knew, because they've been falling, as I said, for nearly 9 or 10 months. A lot of those capped price deals are not such a problem, because a lot of them don't charge you more, they just guarantee that it wouldn't go up anymore. So a lot of people...
So if they go down, they will also follow suit and go down?
A lot of people will benefit from those, yeah.
Right, so what about those who don't, though, who go to their gas companies and say, oi, prices have come down a lot and I'm still paying above the odds? Can you break your contract?
Well, there's some of them have penalties, and it's a bit like home mortgages in that respect. If you lock in those ways, then sometimes you have to pay a penalty price to get out.
We're talking about gas and electricity prices coming down here, aren't we?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, for British Gas, 17% for gas and 11% for electricity, and we expect that to spread throughout the whole industry.
Alan Asher, thank you very much.
Time now 16 minutes past 6. For the benefit of cricket fans, Australia 221 for 4 after 40 overs, so 10 overs left in their innings, doing well again, I regret to say. The rest of the headlines this morning. West Midlands police have charged 5 men with terrorism offences following last week's raids in Birmingham. They will appear before magistrates this morning.
A post-mortem examination will be carried out today on the former model Anna Nicole Smith, who's been found dead at a hotel near Miami. She was 39.
And the government says the bird flu outbreak at a Bernard Matthews farm in Suffolk may be linked to imports of turkey meat from Hungary. Now then, we were told it couldn't happen again, but 7 years after the death of Victoria Climby, it appears lessons have not been learned on protecting children at risk from abuse. A 4-year-old child almost died at the hands of her cruel parents. Scalding water was poured over her hands. She had large clumps of hair ripped from her scalp, and she was locked up every night in a toilet. Her parents have been jailed for a total of 21 years. Joining me to discuss the ramifications of this in the studio is Wes Kuehl from the NSPCC. Wes, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. This is a case that revolts, disgusts, horrifies people, and people are bound to ask, given the fact that we have social services involved in this case, given the fact we have all the relevant agencies involved, how on earth could this happen?
This is certainly a big tragedy, a horrible, horrible story, but it certainly isn't another Climbié. I think we should be very careful not to try and draw that comparison.
Why do you say that, Wes?
In the case of Victoria Climbié, she totally failed, well, the system of protecting children totally failed to connect with her. She engaged with lots of agencies, they didn't pick up the clues, the work wasn't done to carry out an assessment. In Westminster, it's a very different situation. There was a very careful assessment, the agencies were working together. They were aware of risks, they were doing their level best to protect the child, and it still didn't work.
But did they talk to the child? I was led to believe they didn't. Once again, they didn't. It was an adult-led inquiry.
I'm sure they'll be reflecting on what went wrong. I mean, when you do your best to get something right and it still doesn't go wrong, what you've got to try and do is learn from that situation.
But I'm right, they didn't talk to the child, did they?
From what I've read, they did engage with the child, but talking to a child is always extremely hard, and getting the right information from a child, particularly when a child's got any sort of disability, it makes it even harder. And now I think that the problem really is that learning to talk to a child requires enormous skill and enormous understanding. It's how you interpret what you're hearing is the big challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think every sensible person accepts that the various agencies involved are caring, compassionate people who do their best. But at the end of the day, this has to amount to a huge error of judgment. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the fact of the matter, isn't it?
It may do. I mean, I think the jury still asking whether there were errors of judgment. Sometimes the challenge is not putting together all the information in the right way. But I think that what I would caution against really is after Climbié, there was a big rush to judgment. And that rush to judgment was about finding the guilty person. Right. And in the case of Climbié, it was probably the least experienced person.
Well, everyone was involved. I mean, there were social services involved, the hospital was involved, the courts were involved, the police were involved.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in theory, there couldn't have been more organised support, could there?
There was tremendous organised
Which actually is probably rather more worrying than if there hadn't been, in a way.
I think after Climbié, we realised that we had to improve the systems and procedures for protecting children. And they have improved enormously. Up and down the country, local authorities have worked really hard to improve their procedures. What this shows us is that we can't afford to be complacent. You can have good procedures in place, and people trying really hard, and you can still get it wrong. And we have to try and learn from this. And what I would support from the NSPCC point of view is let's encourage a climate of learning so that people feel free to say how they could have got it better. If we go for a blame culture and say who was the person to blame, and some people have unfortunately gone down that road already, people are going to fall back and say, oh gosh, I'm in trouble, I must protect myself. And if that happens, we won't learn.
Okay, going to leave it there, Wes. Thanks so much, Steve, for being with us.
Time is 6:21. Still to come more on our top story. The 5 men who've been charged under the Anti-Terrorism Act in Birmingham after that alleged kidnap plot.
And reaction from Hollywood to the death of former Playboy model Anna Nicole Smith.
Time is 6:23. A post-mortem examination will be carried out today on the former model Anna Nicole Smith, who was found dead last night at a hotel near Miami. She was 39. Carla Romano reports.
She was the former Playboy centerfold who married an 80-year-old billionaire. Loved by the tabloids, she lived her life in the media spotlight. And now her death has put her back in the headlines.
Anna Nicole Smith died today.
Now to the shocking and mysterious death of Anna Nicole Smith.
Anna Nicole collapsed at the Hard Rock Hotel in Hollywood, Florida. A private nurse called emergency services after finding Smith unresponsive in her 6th-floor room. Her bodyguard tried to resuscitate her, but an hour later, she was declared dead.
At 2:49 this afternoon, we were advised by hospital personnel that Anna Nicole Smith had died.
This latest tragedy comes just 5 months after the apparent drug-related death of Anna Nicole's 20-year-old son, Daniel.
I think we all think it's tragic, but I don't think it's all that much of a surprise. We have seen these kinds of things come down the pike in Hollywood before.
The big question now is what will happen to Anna Nicole's 5-month-old baby daughter, Daniel Lynn. At the time of her death, she was embroiled in a bitter legal battle with former boyfriend Larry Birkhead. He was demanding DNA testing to prove whether or not he was the child's father. An autopsy is due later today. Carla Romano, GMTV News, Los Angeles.
And we can now speak to Carla. So, Carla, a few more hours on. Any more news about what's going to happen to a 5-month-old daughter? Unfortunately, as you can see, we're having a problem with the link to Carla there. We do hope to speak to her shortly and find out exactly what is going to be happening shortly.
Lots of problems on the roads this morning too. I mean, the snow may have disappeared, but we've got black ice in certain areas.
And more snow coming, and more... Oh, sorry, I was going to say more snow coming in as well. And one of our in trucks, what? I interrupted you right in the middle there. Okay,
yeah,
right.
All are safe and well, I'm glad.
Now, but we can go back to Carla. I think we've actually sorted out the link to Carla. So, Carla, if you were just about to... we couldn't hear you, but we were going to bring us up to date about what's happening to Anna Nicole Smith's 5-month-old daughter.
Absolutely. You know what, Penny, I was trying to say to you before that, you know, there's so many victims in this whole scenario. You know, Anna Nicole Smith's son, Daniel, died only 5 months ago, just days after this little baby was born. As you said, she's now 5 months old, and now she is left motherless. And who's the father? Well, that's the big question, because Anna Nicole Smith maintains that it was her current boyfriend, Howard K. Stern, who was also her manager, but her former boyfriend, Larry Birkhead, insists that it is his baby, and as you heard in that report, he is also insisting on DNA testing to prove that that child is indeed his. This woman had such a tragic life, Penny, I can't tell you. There's been so much going on with this girl, but you know what? She was never boring. She was always colourful because that's what she wanted to be. She wanted to emulate her big idol, Marilyn Monroe, and I think that she went through life in that vein, and I think because Marilyn had so much tragedy, she kind of almost, in a sense, aligned herself to that. But I think that the sad thing about all of this is, just from speaking to people here today, nobody seems that surprised by it. It's almost as though the writing was on the wall that, you know, she was going to come to some tragic end, although there wasn't really, you know, anything in the pipeline to suggest that that would happen, considering that all she's been through. But you probably know her best from being the Playboy bunny, the big blonde, curvy, busty bombshell, and of course marrying that 89-year-old oil billionaire, J. Howard Marshall. Now, she was locked in this bitter legal battle with him. She's been locked for years and years, going to court after court, and most recently going to the Supreme Court because it's not over yet. She has billions to inherit. Who knows what's going to happen with that? Who knows if her little baby daughter, Daniel Lynn, will see any of that money? There's a lot of ifs and buts up in the air. Nobody knows what's going on, and I think the big thing is waiting for the results of this autopsy. Some people are speculating, was it drugs? Other people are saying maybe it had to do with her heart. She was found in her hotel room. She'd collapsed, and an hour later, she died. Nobody at this stage, Penny, knows what on earth is going on.
Carla, thanks.
OK, let's catch up on that weather now. Here's Claire.
Oh, thank you, darling. GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestle Cereals. Whole grain for the whole family, every morning.
I'm in central London this morning. I have to say conditions are slightly better than yesterday. Even so, it's another very chilly morning. We're talking a lot of ice this morning right across the country. And also another band of rain coming into the West Country, which in fact, as it hits the cold air, is now turning to snow. Turning to snow over the moors and now moving across to southern parts of Wales. And we are likely to see snow across much of Wales again today, as well as the West Midlands. So Wales is getting the brunt of the bad weather again. It's not just this area, though, seeing bad weather this morning. The area of snow which was over the Midlands yesterday has now moved up to southwestern areas of Scotland. It's a mixture of rain, sleet and snow, obviously snow over the higher ground, so not as potent as it was yesterday. Even so, bringing a wintry mix to this zone here. We're seeing those wintry showers still coming in across eastern areas of Scotland, northeast England, and Northern Ireland seeing a little bit of patchy rain this morning, particularly across the eastern side of the province. Western areas should see a better day today, as well as northwest Scotland. Elsewhere, it really is a case of ice, actually. The ice, obviously, over the snowfields, temperatures dipped below freezing last night. And we're seeing some dense fog patches this morning, particularly across East Anglia, and some stretching across to the Midlands as well as the south. So generally, there's a lot of cloud across northern England, and it is a very chilly start. Through the afternoon, then, this area of rain, sleet and snow continues its passage northwards. It does mean for much of Wales, you could, particularly over the higher ground, receive another perhaps 3, 4, perhaps even 5 inches of snow. And of course the West Midlands also seeing the brunt of the bad weather as well. A mix of rain, sleet and snow here. Elsewhere it's the fog slowly clearing, a lot of clouds generally, and those temperatures only slowly rising. Again, I think the best of the weather will be northwest Scotland. Elsewhere it's going to be a cloudy day with a little bit of patchy rain in places. Let's have a look at those temperatures then. Well, it's going to be a cold day wherever you are. Temperatures only slowly rising to 2, 3 or 5 degrees Celsius. And then tonight, well tonight, a little change really as that rain gradually moves northwards. But the all-important weekend, and in fact Scotland's going to get blizzards on Sunday. What happens over the next 36 hours or so? Successive bands of cloud and rain move up from the southwest. That means snow for the Pennines tomorrow and rain elsewhere. It never really reaches Scotland, but then on Sunday another band of rain comes in, and as it hits the cold air, particularly north of the central lowlands, you will see snow and, as I said, blizzard conditions, particularly over the highlands. Elsewhere it's just going to be wet, horrible and windy. Here's your summary. For your local weekend weather, visit our website gm.tv.
Oh, that looks nice, doesn't it? Welcome to February. Good morning. It's Friday, February the 9th, and it's 6:30.
Yes, you're watching the News Hour here on GMTV. In the next half hour, a major development in the alleged Birmingham kidnap plot, with news overnight that 5 men have been charged under the Terrorism Act.
An investigation's launched into the alleged illegal import of poultry into Britain as 3 more of Bernard Matthews' turkey houses in Suffolk test positive for bird flu. Talking to the government's Deputy Chief Vet, Fred Landag, in a few minutes' time.
And as we've been hearing from Claire, more snow on the way, but does it justify the thousands of school closures across the country? I'd like to hear your views on that one. But first, our top story this morning. Within the last few hours, West Midlands Police have charged 5 men with terrorism offences following last week's raids in Birmingham. They will appear before magistrates this morning, and Tiffany Royce is in Birmingham for us. What can you tell us, Tiffany?
Good morning, John. Yes, well, the 5 men will appear before magistrates in Coventry, charged with offences under the Terrorism Acts of 2006 and 2000. They're aged 29, 30, 31, 36 and 43. A 38-year-old man has been released without charge, and another man is still in custody this morning. Police have until 4 a.m. on Saturday to interview him. Now, it was last Wednesday when these 9 men were arrested over what senior security sources say was an alleged plot to kidnap a member of the armed forces. 2 other men were released earlier in the week. I spoke to one of them, Abu Bakr. Before these charges were made, he told me that he felt that the UK had become a police state for Muslims, and that he felt he was targeted because he was a Muslim, and that his privacy had been invaded. Well, West Midlands Police will reveal more details about these charges later today.
Tiffany, thanks very much indeed.
Well, the other big story this morning is the expected travel disruption over the next few hours with widespread icy patches on untreated roads. This is the latest satellite picture. There's more snow moving into South Wales and the Midlands. It's that big, thicker cloud coming in at the moment there. And Rachel Harrison has all the latest information. Rachel.
Yes, good morning, Penny. Well, the situation here in Charbury, it says that all the powder snow that fell yesterday has literally overnight turned to ice. It's like walking on a skating rink this morning, and that's part of the problem. And certainly the Highways Agency have said that they've had 400 gritters out overnight, but they're still urging people to stay at home today. They're concerned about freezing fog and ice patches, and also we've still got snow falling in some areas. Now, it's not just the major roads as well. Clearly, these are the roads that are untreated, which are causing many problems, particularly in the country. It's also the rail services. Virgin say they're suffering from delays again today. Check with them before you travel. And other rail operators are saying that due to the plummeting temperatures, which went down to around -4 and -2 overnight, that many of the points may have been frozen, which means you have to check before you travel. Now, this whole cold snap's not been good for British business either. The Chamber of Commerce say that they've lost around £400 million so far due to a lack of productivity. They say because people have been simply unable to get to work and have been delayed, so it's not really good for them. The only people that are having a good time today, though, are some children in Birmingham and Worcestershire. The council-run schools are still shut there today. That's due to the fact that it's so cold. And I have to say, it's not good news, because we're expecting more snow tonight in Wales, the Peak District and the Midlands.
Rachel, thank you very much.
Let's catch up on the rest of the news. Here's Simon.
Thanks very much. Good morning. The government says the bird flu outbreak at a Bernard Matthews farm in Suffolk may be linked to imports of turkey meat from Hungary. It's also emerged traces of the H5N1 virus were found in 3 other sheds on the Suffolk farm. Sue Jameson's in Suffolk for us. Sue.
Yes, good morning, Simon. It's now thought that the outbreak, as you say, may have been caused by an import of dead turkeys from a Bernard Matthews-owned plant in Hungary. A new test shows that the strain found in the birds in Suffolk may be identical to the strain found in Hungary in geese. Now, geese on an infected farm in southern Hungary were destroyed last month, and DEFRA has confirmed that partly processed turkey has been transported by lorry from Hungary to the Suffolk farm each week up until the outbreak. Now, DEFRA also says the latest tests seem to indicate it is an infection that's been passed from poultry to poultry rather than, for example, wild birds, which might isolate it at least. And other tests show that birds in 3 other sheds on the Bernard Matthews farm here show strains of H5N1. Before, it was thought that it was just 1 shed out of the 21, but those tests are still going on, so in fact there could be more to come. Bernard Matthews is still saying its products are safe to eat, and has issued a statement saying Bernard Matthews continues to work closely with DEFRA to assist with its ongoing investigation. We are cooperating fully, and as a precautionary measure, we have volunteered to cease any movements to and from Hungary. So that's what Bernard Matthews is saying. Meanwhile, the investigation's still going on. Back to you.
Sue, thanks for that. A post-mortem examination will be carried out today on the former model Anna Nicole Smith, who was found dead last night at a hotel near Miami at the age of 39. The cause of her death hasn't been announced, but some reports suggest drugs may have been involved. She was famous for marrying an 89-year-old Texas oil billionaire when she was 26. She spent years fighting for a share of his estate after he died. A Muslim activist who hit the headlines after heckling the Home Secretary will appear in court today, charged with a terrorism offence. 31-year-old Abu Izzuddin faces a charge of encouraging an act of terrorism. It's understood to relate to a speech he made in Birmingham last year. GMTV has obtained pictures of the hero's welcome given to one of the American pilots involved in the friendly fire incident in Iraq which killed British soldier Matty Hull. They show Colonel Gus Contop being reunited with his family and friends after his return from Iraq. He told a magazine flying in Operation Iraqi Freedom had been the epitome of his career. Now Dame Helen Mirren and her film The Queen have continued their award-winning run. They've scooped 4 more trophies at the London Film Critics Circle Awards. The Queen has already won 2 Golden Globes and secured 10 BAFTA and 6 Oscar nominations.
It's a great honour, and you know, many people said it tonight, but it has been a really strong year for British film, and let's hope that it keeps going and just gets better and better.
So let's take a look at what's on the website for you this morning. The latest travel updates for you if you're planning to go out and about. Scientists question whether you should wait until you're 25 to get a smear test. And the facts on diagnosing medical problems online. All this and more on gm.tv and also on your mobile. Coming up to 6:38 now, it's back to you, John and Penny.
Thanks very much, Simon. Now it's your last chance this week to win £10,000 and a home entertainment system in our competition.
Richard Arnold, as ever, has the details.
GMTV is giving you the chance to win £10,000 in our BAFTA competition. Yeah, that's £10,000 to spend on whatever you like, but not only that, you could also win a 42-inch high-definition ready plasma screen and recordable DVD player. If you want to be in with a chance of winning, here is the question you need to answer. In which detective series does Dame Helen Mirren star? Is it A, The Bill, B, Prime Suspect, or C, Cracker?
You can dial 09068 100 100. Yes, that's 09068 100 100. Or you can text A, B or C as your answer, plus your full name and address to 81149. You can also enter on our website, either online or on your mobile.
Lines close at 9. The winner will be revealed in Entertainment Today.
We're back in a couple of minutes, but first, your local news.
And welcome to the breakfast news from ITV Granada. First, police in Manchester investigating a bank robbery near Bolton say they're following a number of new leads following a televised appeal for information. The raid took place at Barclays Bank in Horwich last November. 2 men threatened staff with a shotgun and a machete before escaping with £200,000. They then fired at police who were chasing them. Police say they received more than 40 calls, with one name being mentioned more than once. An interview with the assaulted bank worker was broadcast in a bid for new information.
I remember being thrown around the bank, you know, like a rag doll. I really did think I was going to die. I really want to carry on with my life and put all this behind me, and I don't feel that I can do that until they're caught.
A woman's due in court today charged with the murder of a man in Rochdale last year. 44-year-old John Smith was found dead at his flat in Surma Close last May. Officers investigating his death exhumed his body from Rochdale Cemetery in August. 34-year-old Carla Swallow will appear at Rochdale Magistrates Court. A plaque's being unveiled today in memory of a train driver who died saving lives in an accident 50 years ago. John Axon's locomotive was en route to Warrington from Buxton in 1957 when its brakes failed. His quick thinking saved the life of his fireman and saw another train move to safety. But he died when his train collided with the platform at Chapel on the Frith, where the plaque will be situated.
I just think it's so special that his name is going to live on. It's 50 years
and the amount of people that have been interested, it's just amazing. Myself and my brother Andrew, we're just so surprised at the interest in it all. So to actually have a plaque there as well that people can see, it's just fantastic.
Finally, just a reminder that on Granada Reports this evening, Paul Crone will be bringing you the latest in his series Cronies Champions. We've been asking you to nominate someone special in your community that we can surprise with the award. So tune in tonight to find out who his latest champion is. And that's it for now. I'm back at 7:05. Time now for a look at the region's weather.
Relief for dry, chapped hands when they need it most. Nivea Hand SOS Intensive Balm.
Freezing fog will linger this morning with some rain or sleet on the coasts and snow on the hills. A cloudy afternoon with rain and then some more snow by this evening. Temperatures will reach 4 Celsius, 39 Fahrenheit.
Welcome back. 19 minutes to 7 is the time. Quick shift at the morning papers. Two of them lead on the death of Anna Nicole Smith. That's the Sun's front page. Very similar headline in the Daily Mirror. As you can see, the Daily Express prefers the weather. It's not over yet. They say more snow and ice on the way, as we've been telling you as well. The Daily Telegraph features the snow and ice, but also points out that 1 million school children were turned away yesterday. We'll be asking a little bit later on what you think about that. Was that action justified? And finally, the Daily Mail, bird flu. Is Bernard Matthews to blame? Is a headline in the Daily Mail.
Yes, and we talk about that now because test results have confirmed bird flu in 3 more sheds on the Bernard Matthews farm in Suffolk. It's also believed that DNA of the virus exactly matches that of a strain found in Hungary. In a moment, we'll be talking to bird flu expert John Macaulay, but first to Westminster. And I'm joined by the government's Deputy Chief Vet, Fred Landegg. Good morning. So does this mean absolutely that this virus has come from Hungary to Britain in imported turkeys or turkey products?
Yes. What we're dealing with is a complex investigation. It's rather like a jigsaw puzzle, and we're putting together the pieces. We had evidence yesterday and advice from the Veterinary Laboratories Agency that from the work that they have carried out so far, the virus appears to be almost identical, or may well be identical, to the Hungary virus. That means that that virus has probably come directly from Hungary to the UK and not via migratory birds.
Right, so when you say probably, do you mean probably or definitely?
Well, we can't say. This is a complex investigation, but it is looking that way. We have to piece together the evidence. And as I've said, in some cases, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. We might not get all the pieces, but with other evidence, it is looking that that is the most probable route at the moment.
Right, and not what some people were suggesting at the beginning, which was about a wild bird. Now, Bernard Matthews, the company, says it believes DEFRA is ruling out all possibilities of a link with its Hungarian subsidiary, Saga Foods. Is that right?
Well, this is the point. We're focusing on this part of the investigation, and there will be detailed inquiries with the company who are cooperating with us to just carefully see what the routes might be as to how this virus has got here, and certainly one of the possibilities is in product from the company.
Now, Peter Ainsworth, the Shadow Environment Secretary, said yesterday that Bernard Matthews had some serious questions to answer about its biosecurity and the version of events that is told so far. What's your reaction to that?
Well, that again is still part of the careful studies that we are carrying out. This is a commercial farm. We understand that the biosecurity is reasonable for a commercial farm, but there will always be chinks in biosecurity, and that is why we ask all poultry owners to be particularly careful about biosecurity or basic good hygiene.
Well, thank you very much, Fred Landegg. And joining me in the studio, as I said, Dr. John Macaulay, an expert in bird flu. Good morning to you. If it did come from turkey product or poultry, is that better news for poultry farmers here or worse news?
Well, I think that's better news because it is identifying how the virus got into the turkey sheds, and so if you take more care, as Fred Landegg just said, then if you take more care, you ought to be able to have increased disease security.
So in other words, it could just stay in this one particular area and not spread out?
Indeed, but one would have to also increase surveillance in that area, just in case wild birds in the area caught it from the infected turkeys.
So how worried should farmers in that particular area be? And when I say that particular area, how big an area are we talking about?
The first area, I think, is about 3 kilometres radius from the central, the central focus of infection. And there's intense surveillance going on in all poultry flocks, and they'll be tested as well. Outside of that area, there's no movement of any birds within that area. Outside of that area, and I think that's 10 or 15 kilometres, then there's much more attention paid, but they don't have exactly the same restrictions. And then beyond that area, for about another 20 miles, I think, then all poultry movement has to be licensed.
Right, and what about people who are worried about getting bird flu?
Well, the risks, I think, are really quite minimal for people catching bird flu in these circumstances. As far as we know, all the birds on that particular farm near Halesworth have been killed now. So long as it hasn't gone anywhere else, and it would seem unlikely to have gone anywhere else if you're saying it's just come in as contaminated products, it's unlikely to have got to adjacent farms unless there's some other breakdown in disease security in farms nearby.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. Bernard Matthews has issued a statement which says Bernard Matthews continues to work closely with DEFRA to assist with its ongoing investigation. We are cooperating fully, and as a precautionary measure, we volunteered to cease any movements to and from Hungary.
Time now 30 minutes to 7. Thousands of school children will have another day off school today after 1 million stayed home yesterday because of the bad weather. But was it necessary to keep them away? After all, we only had up to 6 inches of snow and in many areas barely a covering. Yet the snow forced 400 to close in Essex, and they're likely to stay shut today. And around 300 were closed in Herefordshire and Worcestershire. About 200 in both Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire, and other counties with at least 100 closures included Kent, Berkshire, Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire and Northamptonshire. And all of the 805 council-run schools in Birmingham and the Black Country are closed again today. According to Viewetex, at least, schools were shut in Brighton, despite the fact there was no snow there at all. Not good news if you're a parent facing the prospect of finding emergency childcare. Let's join Richard Gaisford, who's outside a junior school in Birmingham, to find out what parents in that part of the country think about yesterday and today's action.
Yes, good morning to you, John. Well, it's going to be not just a long weekend for children at schools here in Birmingham, it's going to be an extended holiday. They're supposed to be on half-term holiday next week. Of course, that's been in the diary for years. What wasn't was yesterday's day off and today's day off as well. And when you take a look at the gates of this school here, you can see the lock is firmly on them, and if you look inside on that virgin snow there, not a child's footprint in the playground, and there won't be because all the snow will have melted long before they get back. Let's have a chat now with Tanya and Helen, mums who aren't necessarily that happy about the situation, are you, Tanya? I mean, what happened yesterday?
Yesterday it was announced that the schools were to close, and I had no childcare provision for my 6-year-old son, so I had to take him into the office and try and phone around friends and relatives to see if I could get someone to care for him for the day. Unfortunately, I couldn't. I had to leave at 12:30 and take him home.
And they said go home, but you weren't paid for that bit of the afternoon.
No, I'm self-employed and I wasn't paid, but initially I've got after-school provision with the childminder, and I still have to pay the childminding fees, even if I don't use them.
So no money for the afternoon for you. You still pay the childminder. Pretty upset about that.
Yes, I am.
And I mean, from your point of view, you must think that I can walk to the school pretty easily. I can get my kids there, but why can't they open?
Oh, very much so. You know, I think that they penalise parents for going on holiday, and then they can just shut the school like this whenever they feel like it. You know, we get into big trouble if we take them away on holiday. They say it's not allowed and all that. You know, it's exams now for my little girl, who's very upset about not going to school yesterday or today, and I've had to get her sister to look after her today so that I can go to work, because again, I don't get paid if I don't go to work because I haven't been there long enough. So, you know, I just think it's very unfair.
Did you think that the council think about these things when they close the schools?
I don't think so, not at all, no. No, I don't think they really, you know, at the end of the day, they're just concerned about the welfare of their teachers, and it doesn't matter about, I mean, I can still get about, I'm still got to go to work today, quite far, you know, so is Tanya. We've got to try and sort things out for our children.
Well, thank you very much for coming to join us here this morning. As you can see, not everyone's happy, but I think the children probably are, John.
Thanks very much indeed, Richard. Birmingham City Council say the schools were closed for health and safety reasons and that a lot of children would have been off today anyway because teachers are on training courses. I have to go into grumpy old man mode here, not hard you may well say. You know, I was brought up in the foothills of the Pennines where snow like yesterday wouldn't have even made the local news, you know. I don't recall a single day when our school was closed.
No, and unfortunately we were always forced to go as well. And there's a call in from Lancashire saying, why is it that everyone except teachers manage to get to work when it snows? If the shop's closed, the first sign of snow, never mind the hospitals, there would be an outcry.
They would say health and safety reasons, as one of our
health and safety
crew has pointed out. But,
yep.
Yeah.
Do share your views with us. Are you inconvenienced this morning because your child's school is closed? Do you think it's a bit of an overreaction, or are they sensibly putting safety first? Text us 811899 or email us at gm.tv.
That's just about it from the news hour. Penny will be back with Benny just a tick.
Yes, we reveal which one of our three couples you've chosen to relive their wedding day next week.
Yes, and they'll be meeting the woman who challenged her doctor's view that she would never walk again. That's an interesting story just after 8 o'clock.
First, the weather with Claire.
Grab that remote and make a choice, entertainment or nonsense. Choose entertainment, then we offer celebs galore. Jimmy Mystery on the sofa and Simon Webb performing. A Life on Mars set visit, and we're bringing sexy back. We interviewed Justin Timberlake. It's your choice. Make the right one. Entertainment today, later.
Here you are, Mummy.
Oh, thank you, darling.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestle Cereals. Whole grain for the whole family, every morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the top of TV Centre. I have to say conditions are much better than they were yesterday, but it can't be said for some other parts of the country this morning. If you look at the radar, you can see where the worst the weather is. We've got another band of rain coming in from the soggy southwest, even though temperatures here are relatively mild. But as it hits the cold air, particularly over the moors, it's turning to snow, now moving up across southern parts of Wales into the southwest Midlands, and we are expecting more snow today, particularly across Wales and particularly over the high ground. And in fact, in any heavier bursts, you could see some snow across the West Midlands as we head through this morning. Elsewhere, we are seeing some showers again across that eastern side of Scotland, just nudging into north-east England, and also one or two sort of patches of rain across the eastern side of Northern Ireland. Elsewhere this morning, the problem is ice. Temperatures overnight dipped below freezing, 1 or 2 degrees below, but even so enough for ice to form. And also we do have dense, patchy, freezing fog as well across East Anglia, as well as the Midlands down towards the south. So a lot of problems on the roads this morning. Currently across southwest Scotland, you're seeing a mixture of rain, sleet and snow. The snow which was over the Midlands and Wales yesterday, and gradually that will die out. The best of the weather this morning will be northwest Scotland again, as well as the western side of Northern Ireland. Through the afternoon, well, little change across Scotland and Northern Ireland. You can see there, more cloud always across northern counties of England. And that area of rain, sleet, so continues its passage northwards across to much of the Midlands, just clipping the southeast as well as East Anglia, as well as northern counties of England, that's Yorkshire and Lancashire. Temperatures 2 or 3 degrees Celsius inland, slightly milder in the southwest. And then for the weekend, successive bands of rain will be moving up from the southwest. That means Pennines, you should see some snow on Saturday. Elsewhere, it really is a case of that rain sort of causing problems. Just it's not going to be particularly pleasant, to be honest. And then on Sunday, another band of rain moves up, and as it hits the cold air anywhere north of the central lowlands, it's going to turn to snow. So we could see blizzard conditions for a time on Sunday. To the south of it, it's drying up for a time, but watch out for 1 or 2 heavy showers. Northern Ireland seeing a better day on Sunday than Saturday. Just something. Check out what the weather will be like this weekend on our website, gm.tv.
Good morning. Terrorism charges in the last few hours. 5 men have been charged after the alleged Iraqi-style kidnap and execution plot in Birmingham. More details in a few minutes.
Muddled death. Troubled former Playboy model Anna Nicole Smith collapses and dies in her hotel room. We've got the latest from America.
Infected imports and investigations launched after suggestions that the outbreak of bird flu may be linked to the import of turkey meat from Hungary. That's all to come on Friday the 9th of February 2007. Good morning. You're watching GMTV today. It's almost 7 o'clock. We'll have more on those stories in the next hour.
Also this morning, the freezing temperatures are causing problems for this morning's rush hour. Stay with us, we'll have more details on all the travel problems.
And we meet the woman who forced the banks to pay back more than £16,000 in charges. Tracy McInnes tells us how she did it in 40 minutes' time.
Very satisfying story. And you could be £10,000 richer and the owner of a plasma TV screen. Before the end of the show, we've got details of today's competition coming up in about 15 minutes.
But first, West Midlands Police have charged 5 men with terrorism offences after last week's raid in Birmingham. They'll appear before Coventry magistrates this morning.
Another man was released without charge overnight. One is still in custody. Tiffany Royce is in Birmingham for us. Morning, Tiffany.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Ben. Well, the 5 men will appear before magistrates in Coventry later today, charged under the Terrorism Acts of 2006 and 2000. They're aged 29, 30, 31, 36 and 43. A 38-year-old man was released without charge, and another man is still in custody this morning. Police have until 4 a.m. on Saturday to question him. Now, the 9 men were arrested last Wednesday over what senior security sources say was an alleged plot to kidnap a member of the armed forces. 2 other men were released earlier in the week. I spoke to one of them, Abu Bakr, before these charges were made. He said he felt the UK had become a police state for Muslims. He felt he was targeted because he was a Muslim and his privacy had been invaded. Well, West Midlands Police will reveal more details about these charges later today.
Tiffany, thanks very much. A post-mortem examination will be carried out today on the former model Anna Nicole Smith, who was found dead last night at her hotel near Miami. She was 39.
The cause of her death hasn't been announced, but some reports suggest drugs may have been involved. Carla Romano reports.
She was the former Playboy centrefold who married an 80-year-old billionaire. Loved by the tabloids, she lived her life in the media spotlight. And now her death has put her back in the headlines.
Anna Nicole Smith died today.
Now to the shocking and mysterious death of Anna Nicole Smith.
Anna Nicole collapsed at the Hard Rock Hotel in Hollywood, Florida. A private nurse called emergency services after finding Smith unresponsive in her 6th-floor room. Her bodyguard tried to resuscitate her, but an hour later, she was declared dead.
At 2:49 this afternoon, we were advised by hospital personnel that Anna Nicole Smith had died.
This latest tragedy comes just 5 months after the apparent drug-related death of Anna Nicole's 20-year-old son, Daniel.
I think we all think it's tragic, but I don't think it's all that much of a surprise. We have seen these kinds of things come down the pike in Hollywood before.
The big question now is what will happen to Anna Nicole's 5-month-old baby daughter, Daniel Lynn. At the time of her death, she was embroiled in a bitter legal battle with former boyfriend Larry Birkhead, who was demanding DNA testing to prove whether or not he was the child's father. An autopsy is due later today. Carla Romano, GMTV News, Los Angeles.
Thanks very much, Carla. We're going to get the rest of the day's news now. Here's Simon.
Thank you. Good morning. The government says the bird flu outbreak at a Bernard Matthews farm in Suffolk may be linked to imports of turkey meat from Hungary. It's also emerged traces of the H5N1 virus were found in 3 other sheds on the Suffolk farm. Well, Sue Jameson is in Suffolk for us this morning. Sue.
Hello, Simon. Yes, it's now thought that the outbreak may have been caused by an import of dead turkeys from a Bernard Matthews-owned plant in Hungary. And new tests seem to show that the strain found in the birds in Suffolk may be identical to the strain found in Hungary in geese. And we do know that geese on an infected farm in southern Hungary were destroyed last month. Now, DEFRA has confirmed that partly processed turkey has been transported by truck from Hungary to the Suffolk farm each week up until the time of the outbreak, and also says the latest tests indicate that this is an infection passed from poultry to poultry rather than, for example, with wild birds. Other tests show that birds in 3 sheds on the Bernard Matthews farm are showing strains of H5N1. That's in addition to the first one we know about. Until now, it was thought there was just 1 shed out of the 21. And also, those tests are still continuing, which could mean we have further results. Now, Bernard Matthews is saying its products are safe to eat and has issued a statement that says Bernard Matthews continues to work closely with DEFRA to assist with its ongoing investigation. We are cooperating fully, and as a precautionary measure, we have volunteered to cease any movements to and from Hungary. In the meantime, of course, the investigation here in Suffolk is ongoing. Back to you.
Sue, thank you. There's more travel disruption this morning, I'm afraid. Plummeting temperatures have led to widespread icy patches on untreated roads in many parts of England and Wales. And there's more snow in South Wales and the Midlands. Rachel Harrison has all the latest information. She's in Oxfordshire for us this morning.
Yes, good morning. This is the scene that many people are waking up to. The powder snow that we saw fall yesterday has literally turned to ice overnight. It's like walking on a skating rink. We've seen temperatures plummet in some parts of the country to around -4 and -2, which means once again we're going to see problems on the roads. The Highways Agency say they've had 400 gritters out overnight. The main roads have been treated, but it's the minor roads where we're expecting problems once again today. They're still urging people to stay at home if you possibly can, because they're concerned about the risk of just more accidents. There are also problems if you're planning to take the train. Virgin say they've got a number of delays on their service due to the bad weather, and other rail operators say due to the fact that it's been so cold overnight, they may have problems with frozen points, so check before you travel. And this cold snap has actually had a really bad effect on British business. The Chamber of Commerce say they think that the economy has lost around £400 million due to a loss of productivity. They say that that's simply because people have been unable to get to work or have been late in turning up for work. But there's still some good news for some children in Birmingham and Worcestershire this morning. The council-run schools there are still closed due to the cold snap, and unfortunately I'm afraid that there's more bad weather on the way if you're living in Wales, the Peak District, or the Midlands. Expect some more snow tonight.
Rachel, thank you. GMTV has obtained pictures of the hero's welcome given to one of the American pilots involved in the friendly fire incident in Iraq, which killed British soldier Matty Hall. They show Colonel Gus Contop being reunited with his family and friends after his return from Iraq. He told a magazine flying in Operation Iraqi Freedom had been the epitome of his career. Now let's check out the website for you this morning. The latest travel updates if you're planning to go out and about. Scientists question whether you should wait until you're 25 to get a smear test. And the facts on diagnosing medical problems online. All this and more on GM.TV and also on your mobile. It's exactly 6 minutes past 7. Here's what's happening where you are.
Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News from ITV Granada. First, police in Manchester investigating a bank robbery near Bolton say they're following a number of new leads following a televised appeal for information. The raid took place at Barclays Bank in Horwich last November. Two men threatened staff with a shotgun and a machete before escaping with £200,000. They then fired at officers who were chasing them. Police say they received more than 40 calls last night, with one name being mentioned more than once. An interview with the assaulted bank worker was broadcast in the bid for new information.
I remember being thrown around the bank, you know, like a rag doll. I really did think I was going to die. I really want to carry on with my life and put all this behind me, and I don't feel that I can do that until the court.
A woman's due in court today, charged with the murder of a man in Rochdale last year. 44-year-old John Smith was found dead at his flat in Surma Close last May. Officers investigating his death exhumed his body from Rochdale Cemetery in August. 34-year-old Carla Swallow will appear at Rochdale Magistrates Court. A plaque is being unveiled today in memory of a train driver who died saving lives in an accident 50 years ago. John Axon's locomotive was en route to Warrington from Buxton in 1957 when its brakes failed. His quick thinking saved the life of his fireman and saw another train move to safety. But he died when his train collided with the platform at Chapel on the Frith, where the plaque will be situated.
I just think it's so special that his name is going to live on. It's 50 years, and the amount of people that have been interested, it's just amazing. Myself and my brother Andrew, we're just so surprised at the interest in it all. So to actually have a plaque there as well that people can see, it's just fantastic.
Finally, just a reminder that on Granada Reports this evening, Paul Crone will be bringing you the latest in his series Cronies Champions. We've been asking you to nominate someone special in your community that we can surprise with the award. So tune in tonight to find out who his latest champion is. That's it for now. I'm back at 8:05. Time now for a look at the region's weather.
Relief for dry, chapped hands when they need it most. Nivea Hand SOS Intensive Balm.
Freezing fog will linger this morning with some rain or sleet on the coasts and snow on the hills. A cloudy afternoon with rain and then some more snow by this evening.
It's 9 minutes past 7. We were told it couldn't happen again, but 7 years after the death of Victoria Clambier, it appears that lessons have not been learnt on protecting children at risk from abuse. A 4-year-old child almost died at the hands of her cruel parents. They've now been jailed for a total of 21 years. It's an horrific toll of abuse. Scalding water was poured over the youngster's hands. She had large clumps of hair ripped from her scalp and was locked up every night in the lavatory. The child was in the care of Westminster Council. We're joined now by the Council's Julie Jones and Wes QL from the NSPCC. Good morning to you both. First of all, if I can come to you, Julie Jones, it does seem remarkable that this could have happened when there was this history of violence in the family.
This was really an appalling crime, and we're very pleased with the sentences that were handed out yesterday. You're right, there was a history of domestic violence in this family, but what there wasn't was any history of physical abuse for any of their children. So everybody involved with this family, and we've known them for a long time, is really very sorry. The little girl, in fact, is now with an excellent foster carer and is doing very well.
There were 20 visits, though, weren't there? And on 5 of those occasions, the social worker was told that the child was out with the father, so no contact was actually made. Didn't alarm bells ring then?
She was actually seen more than 20 times in that 9-week period. And whenever an appointment was cancelled, whether that was with a social worker, a health visitor, a doctor, whenever it was cancelled, a follow-up visit was made very quickly. So everybody involved in this was very alert to the fact that the whole family, the children, needed to be seen very frequently. And that is, in fact, what was happening. Just to give you some idea of the time involved, the children were returned home by the court last January and were at home for just 9 weeks. But in that last 9 days, from the Wednesday when the doctor saw her, the Thursday when the social worker saw her, and then the following Friday when we took her back into care, great efforts were made to find the family. And they very deliberately lied to us and misled us and were not available.
You see, I think what a chilling statement in this is that she was, as you say, due to be fostered to a family, but a report from Westminster Council in January last year recommended the girl be placed back into the care of the parents. And that just seems to be such a chilling statement when you know what went on.
When the court makes a decision about returning a child home, all of the agencies who've been involved, including a social worker appointed specifically by the court, all have to discuss what the opportunities are for the family. In the past, we had tried to find adoptive parents for these children, but sadly that hadn't been possible. And the court on balance decided, when it listened to everybody that they took advice from, that we should try to return these children home. And that was the decision taken at the time. And then it was our job, all of us, doctors, social workers, health visitors, to make sure that that family had the best chance for rehabilitation with their children. And that was the work that was going on in those early weeks this time last year.
Sorry to interrupt you, just to say that the report into this case said it was too adult-focused, that the children in the family were never questioned, which is exactly the same as the Victoria Clambier report
said. That is, yes, I know what the report said, and in fact our independent reviewer did say to us that he felt it was more adult-focused than child-focused. We accepted that criticism and had a very careful look at the number of times the children had been seen, the number of times they'd been spoken to, the number of times they'd been observed with their parents. Remember, the little girl had a disability. Her language was a little delayed, so it was important not just to listen to her, but also to watch, for expert people to watch, to see what the relationship with her parents was, how it was beginning to develop. So a lot of that work was going on, and this case really isn't like the Victoria Clambier case.
But how many of these lessons have to be learnt before this stops?
Well, every time something goes wrong, it really is important to go back over all of the details just to see whether or not mistakes were made, and if so, whether or not they could have been prevented. So it's never possible to say that you can't learn from a mistake, I'm afraid, and you really must do that. We're required to do that, and we have to appoint somebody independent to have a look at everything that all of the agencies did during that short time period.
Julie Jones, sorry, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much, because we also have Wes QL in the studio from the NSPCC. What more do you think the council could have done?
I think they've obviously tried very, very hard to protect this child, and I think that the thing I'm most concerned about is that there is a temptation to draw parallels with the Climbié case. You did it yourself in your introduction. The only connection between this case and the Climbié case really is that children were horrendously abused.
And the number of visits as well.
And the number of visits, yeah. But in Climbié,
and the adult focus was the other thing that was in the report.
Climbié was a major breakdown of the safeguarding system. I mean, the child didn't connect with safeguarding agencies, no assessment was done. This is a very different situation. There was sounds like a very solid safeguarding system in place. People were working, they had done an assessment, they were monitoring the risk, it still went wrong. So I think we have to be far more subtle in our learning and say what could we further improve on in a case like this to protect this sort of child.
Well, it does seem that in both cases that the children weren't really talked to. I'm not just talking, for example, about the child in this particular case, but there were also two siblings.
I think that's true. I mean, you made the point about did we talk enough to the child, did they? I think across the whole spectrum of social care, we are realising that talking to children is very, very important. The NSPCC now runs the Childline service, and one of the shocking things for me about that is that for many children, the Childline service is the first time they talk to anybody about what's going on. Children do find it very, very hard to talk to adults about what's going on. I'd also like to say, with some sympathy for Westminster really, it's extraordinarily hard to talk to children and to understand what they're saying, especially a 4-year-old child and a 4-year-old child with disabilities. There's a lot of skill involved here.
Wes QL, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
The time is 15 minutes past 7. These are the main headlines you're waking up to this morning. West Midlands Police have charged 5 men with terrorism offences following last week's raids in Birmingham. They'll appear before magistrates this morning. A post-mortem examination will be carried out today on the former model Anna Nicole Smith, who's been found dead at a hotel near Miami. She was 39. And the weather today, rain in the southwest will turn to more snow as it heads across western parts of England and Wales. A chilly day everywhere with a cold easterly breeze.
It always seems wintry this particular week, doesn't it?
Well,
I mean, every year. I mean, every
we
I
are
know,
sort
but
of
I'm
still
just
in
saying.
winter.
Yes, but
it
was quite warm last month, and I think at one stage I was even wearing a T-shirt. Now, if you've been watching this week, you'll know the BAFTA Awards are on this Sunday, and Richard Arnold's been taking a look at the nominees for this week's competition.
Yeah, the prize is £10,000 and a load of home entertainment goodies. Here he is.
Good morning from Buckingham Palace, and where better to end our week-long nod to the BAFTA Awards ceremony in London town this weekend than by raising a glass and possibly even a flag to a dame of the British Empire whose portrayal of our very own monarch has won her applause worldwide. Thanks to her role as the Queen in the movie of the same name, Dame Helen Mirren has won countless awards, from the Golden Globes to the Venice Film Festival, and she's even hotly tipped for Oscar glory as well. You too could be watching the movie on the big screen in the comfort of your own living room if you check out today's prize. And you'll be sitting on a stately pile of cash as well. Take a look. GMTV is giving you the chance to win £10,000 in our BAFTA competition. Yeah, that's £10,000 to spend on whatever you like. But not only that, you could also win a 42-inch high-definition ready plasma screen and recordable DVD player. If you want to be in with a chance of winning, here is the question you need to answer. In which detective series does Dame Helen Mirren star? Is it A, The Bill, B, Prime Suspect, or C, Cracker?
You can dial 09068 100 100. Yes, that's 09068 100 100. Or you can text A, B or C as your answer, plus your full name and address to 81149. You can also enter on our website, either online or on your mobile.
So good luck with that and get dialing. Don't forget lines are only open until 9 o'clock this morning. It's your last chance this week to set yourself up for the weekend and win yourself 10 grand. And don't forget we're throwing in that plasma as well. Now, I was lucky enough to interview Helen Mirren. Lovely lass, but I've yet to have an audience with the real thing. In fact, I didn't even get a ticket to an audience would take that. However, I reckon this may help. What do you reckon, chaps? Should get me past the beer skins.
Blondes have more fun. Those lines close at 9 o'clock this morning. We'll be revealing the winner at the end of Entertainment Today.
Coming up next, we've got the latest on the death of the multi-millionaire former Playboy model Anna Nicole Smith, who tragically passed away, was found dead in a hotel room in America. We're going to be live to Hollywood to hear more on that story.
But first, if you're thinking of buying property abroad, here's property guru Eleanor Davis.
Well, when purchasing a property overseas, it's especially crucial to budget for around 10% of your property prices to allow for extras.
Plus, if you're buying in Europe, it might be worth considering taking out a euro mortgage rather than a sterling one, as interest rates in Europe have historically been lower than the UK.
And when you do find a must-have property, don't be pressured into putting a deposit down there and then. Give yourself a cooling off period.
And if you are arranging finance on the property, ensure that this is stated in any contract and you have an opt-out clause if the loan you want is not agreed.
Also, get your solicitor to check that there are no outstanding debts attached to your new pad. Always go with estate agents who are highly recommended and established in the area, because unlike the UK, the industry is not always regulated.
Dreaming of a home in the sun? It can be easy. Barclays sponsors of property abroad.
.23, the flamboyant former model Anna Nicole Smith has died near Miami, Florida at the age of 39. Smith, the former Playboy bunny, was rarely out of the news after marrying a Texas oil billionaire in 1994 when she was 26 and he was 89. This is how America reacted to her death.
Anna Nicole Smith died today. She collapsed at a Florida hotel. She was 39 years old.
She was known for making quite an appearance, whether it was on the red carpet or at the Supreme Court.
All the major cable news networks switched over to non-stop live coverage this afternoon when word arrived that Anna Nicole Smith had died.
Carla Romano is in Los Angeles for us this morning. Carla, a tragic end to what has been truly a turbulent life.
Absolutely, Ben. You know what's very sad is that nobody here seems particularly surprised. It was almost as though dying young in mysterious circumstances was what people expected of her. I mean, as you said, she was rarely out of the headlines. Her 20-year-old son, Daniel, died very suddenly only 5 months ago, just days after her baby was born. A lot of tragedy there, but there's no doubt she was an incredibly colourful character. She was a waitress who turned Playboy bunny, but who was most famous for, as you said, marrying that 89-year-old oil billionaire J. Howard Marshall when she was only in her mid-20s, and locked in a big battle over his inheritance ever since he died, and that battle is still going on.
There were rumours, Carla, that she may have died because of a drugs overdose. Is there any news on that?
Well, nobody's any further forward, Ben, with what happened. That autopsy was being carried out today. There's a lot of speculation here. Was it drug-related? Some people are saying it could have had something to do with her heart, because it seemed to have happened so suddenly. She was found collapsed in her hotel room, the Hard Rock Hotel in Florida. And even though her bodyguard tried to resuscitate her, she died just 1 hour later. Now, she wanted to emulate her big idol, Marilyn Monroe, but I don't think anybody could have guessed exactly how close she got to that. This is Anna Nicole's story.
Hi.
Anna Nicole Smith died the way she lived her life, in a media frenzy. She was famous for being famous, a pop culture icon. She made the transition from Playboy bunny to multimillionaire, all under the critical eye of the tabloid press. Born Vicki Lynn Hogan on November the 28th, 1967 in Houston, one of 6 children. Her parents split up when she was a toddler, and she was raised by her mother, a deputy sheriff. A former topless dancer, she entered her photos into a competition and went on to become Playboy's Playmate of 1993. But it was her controversial marriage to 89-year-old oil tycoon J. Howard Marshall and the legal battle over his estate for which she will probably be best remembered. Much like another blonde bombshell who married 3 times, Marilyn Monroe, her life was marked by tragedy. Most recently, the apparently drug-related death of her 20-year-old son, Daniel.
She's a classic blonde bombshell. You go back to Marilyn Monroe, she was the first. When Anna Nicole Smith came on in those guest ads, also as a Playboy Playmate, she was everything like Marilyn Monroe, and most of us who grew up in this time never had Marilyn.
While she clearly courted the media, starring in her own reality TV series, she often appeared uncomfortable in front of the cameras.
Is there no relationship?
I don't care about his family. I could care nothing about his family. Anything is different, nothing less about his family.
The big question now is what will happen to Anna Nicole Smith's 5-month-old baby daughter, Daniel Lynn. At the time of her death, she was in a bitter legal battle with former boyfriend Larry Birkhead. who was demanding a DNA test to prove whether or not he was the child's father.
And that's the question now, Carla. Attention turning, as she said, to her young daughter. It stands to inherit this vast fortune secured by Anna Nicole Smith, but of course there's this paternity test that's hanging over her.
Well, number one, nothing is locked down in terms of the inheritance, Ben. They were still fighting in court, the Supreme Court, as to whether or not Anna Nicole would inherit those billions. This little girl is just the latest victim in this family that's just full of tragedy. No mother, no brother, and now nobody knows who her father is. Her current husband, who she married just days after her son died, Howard K. Stern, claims that he's the father of Danny Lynn. And her former boyfriend, Larry Birkhead, as I said in that report, also claims to be the father, and he wants DNA tests to prove it. Now, I'm imagining at this stage Anna Nicole's mother, who they weren't on the best of terms, I am sure she will get a few words in there. I think she might want custody of this little girl. There's lots of ifs and buts floating around, Ben. I don't think anybody knows at this stage what's going to happen to her or whether she'll see any of that money that Anna Nicole was fighting so fiercely for all these years.
Carla, thank you very much.
Thank you all for all your texts and emails, by the way, about the snow closing schools. Maureen from Colchester. When I was at school in 1963, we had the worst winter I can remember. We didn't see the pavement for 3 months. We went to school every day in a foot of snow, and no one had any accidents.
For heaven's sake, it wasn't like it was then, eh?
No.
We don't know we're born.
No.
We're going to see what's happening today. 3 months worth of snow. Who knows? Claire's on the roof.
Here you are, Mummy.
Oh, thank you, darling. GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestle Cereals. Whole grain for the whole family every morning.
Hello, good morning. Well, it certainly is a battle between the mild air to the southwest and the colder air elsewhere, and in fact eventually the mild air will win, but it will be a slow process. We've still got bad weather though, particularly down in the southwest this morning. You see on the radar where the rain is currently, and it's moving its way northwards. As it hits the cold air, it is turning to snow across much of Wales through this morning into this afternoon, as well as the West Midlands. It's quite a potent mix, and this is where the worst the weather is likely to be right the way through the day. But we have other problems this morning as well. We're seeing some dense, patchy, freezing fog. Not great if you're driving this morning across East Anglia, as well as the Midlands and also central southern England, and also icy stretches on untreated roads, or where the roads haven't been treated, the minor roads from that snow yesterday. Now, the snow which was across northern counties of England, as well as the Midlands and Wales yesterday, has moved its way northwards. It's currently across the southwest of Scotland, and it's a mix of rain, sleet and snow obviously over the higher ground, and it will tend to sort of peter out from now on. Elsewhere, it's a cloudy start to the day. We're seeing wintry showers across eastern Scotland, northeast England again, and also some patchy rain this morning across that eastern side of Northern Ireland. To the west of Northern Ireland, it's mostly dry, and mostly dry across northwestern areas of Scotland, where it will remain dry right the way through the day. Through the afternoon then, well, we continue to see the passage of that rain, sleet, snow gradually moving its way northwards across the West Midlands, northern parts of Wales to northern counties of England, and those showers continue in the east of Scotland. Temperatures then, well, it's a chilly day again today, particularly where that fog lingers, 2 to 5 degrees Celsius. And then for the all-important weekend, another band of rain moves in on Saturday, gradually moves northwards. So I think for the Pennine districts, you should see there's some snow and rain across Northern Ireland as well as Wales. The next one, we're expecting rain on Sunday, and in fact when it hits the cold air across the Highlands, we could see some snow here. So showers to follow. It looks like an unsettled weekend as you summary.
Get the weekend outlook for your postcode on our website, gm.tv. It's 7:31. Here's Simon at the news desk.
Thanks very much. Good morning. West Midlands Police have charged 5 men with terrorism offences following last week's raids in Birmingham. They'll appear before Coventry magistrates this morning. The men aged 29, 30, 31, 36 and 43 face charges under the Terrorism Acts of 2000 and 2006. Another man was released without charge overnight. One remains in custody. The bird flu outbreak at a Bernard Matthews farm in Suffolk may be linked to imports of turkey meat from Hungary. The H5N1 strain of the virus was found on a Hungarian farm last month. The government says Hungarian turkey was transported by lorry to Suffolk up until the time of the outbreak.
We had evidence yesterday and advice from the Veterinary Laboratories Agency that from the work that they have carried out so far, the virus appears to be almost identical, or may well be identical, to the Hungary virus.
A post-mortem examination will be carried out today on the former model Anna Nicole Smith, who was found dead last night at a hotel near Miami at the age of 39. The cause of her death hasn't been announced, but some reports suggest drugs may have been involved. She was famous for marrying an old 89-year-old Texas oil billionaire when she was 26. She spent years fighting for a share of his estate after he died. GMTV has obtained pictures of the hero's welcome given to one of the American pilots involved in the friendly fire incident in Iraq, which killed British soldier Matty Hull. Cordelia Kretschmar reports from Idaho.
Flags waved for the Idaho heroes, but the crowds welcoming Lieutenant Colonel Corntop back from Iraq had no idea what had happened just before his triumphant return. The Sun newspaper says Corntop was one of the pilots who killed Lance Corporal Matty Hull. Just weeks later, he was calling Operation Iraqi Freedom the best flying experience of his life.
It was really sent it home when we saw the Iraqi people really welcoming the troops as they came into the towns, and it really made our purpose there much more meaningful.
It emerged today a senior American general originally wanted the A-10 pilots court-martialed, but the Pentagon overruled him, and Corntop was promoted to the rank of colonel. This week, as the family of Lance Corporal Matty Hull pleaded with the pilots responsible to come forward and explain their actions, Colonel Corntop wouldn't surface. So the homecoming hero's gone to ground. If he doesn't want to leave Idaho to give evidence at the inquest in Britain, no one can force him to. No one, that is, except his bosses at the American military. Cordelia Kretschmar, GMTV News in Idaho.
It's 7:34, I'm back at 8, now it's back to Ben and Penny.
Thanks very much, Simon. So, the romantics among you won't need me to tell you it's Valentine's Day next Wednesday. You prepared?
Oh, yes, so prepared, going out.
Little romantic weekend.
But not with him.
So, which GMTV couple have you chosen to renew their wedding vows live on our programme next week?
Could it be Brian and Carol Ann Wakefield, who on their original wedding day, the groom was taken ill and rushed to hospital? Carol is here. Hello, Carol. Brian can't be with us. He's stranded in Prague because of the snow.
Oh, no.
Shame.
But
All on your lonesome.
He will be here next week,
Yeah.
let's hope. Maybe you voted for Lisa and Jeff Martin, who are desperate to renew their vows, as both of them only have, unfortunately, a very few years to live. Both are here, waiting for your verdict. In you come, guys. Morning.
Morning. Got here despite the bit of snow.
Yeah, and got through the gazebo.
Or could it be Alf and Eileen Whiteman, who was 3 months pregnant when she married, with no dress, no cake, none of the trimmings at all? Are Alf and Eileen going to be the lucky couple? And here they are, waiting. They are our couples, waiting for you.
There you go, bossing you around as ever, I bet. OK, there's the couples. Find out which one is off to Gretna next week to renew their vows live on the show after the break. OK, so this is it. The moment has arrived when one of our three couples here is going to find out which one of them is going to relive their wedding next week on Valentine's Day. The winning couple will get to renew their vows at the spectacular setting of Gretna in Scotland. GMTV has arranged travel and accommodation for up to 10 guests, along with a special Valentine's Day wedding breakfast. So, time to announce who is going to be our winning couple. All very nervous. Obviously, you'll want to win. Unfortunately, there can be only one winner, and the couple that will be renewing their vows live next week is couple B, Lisa and Jeff.
Oh.
There you go. Congratulations, Lisa and Jeff. Hard luck, guys. Thank you very much for taking part. Let's remind ourselves while they calm themselves down and prepare themselves of their story.
I was at work one day as a fireman, got a cup of tea, was going to have a game of pool with some of the other lads. Halfway through the game of pool, went to play a shot and got a flicker in my left eye, and then next thing I know I'd kind of come round and there was firemen around me and ambulance crew around me, and I was kind of whisked off to hospital. And then the nurse sort of answered to me, you know, I'm going to tell you something now that's going to change the rest of your life. We're going to do tests to see how things go, and it later turned out that I got diagnosed with a brain tumour.
Throughout all the time that Jeff was ill and that I was driving up to Charing Cross Hospital, I had terrible, terrible back problems. But I think I just kept going.
After the breast cancer diagnosis, they done scans, and it was found to be that Lisa had secondary bone cancer as well.
I want that to be a special day with my 2 boys and Jeff and my very close family. So it would mean a great deal to me, yeah.
Well, here they are, Lisa and Jeff sitting on the sofa. They've already been given champagne, as has everybody else. In fact, in the studio, barring the cameramen, because we wouldn't like to have some dodgy shots. Yes, thank you, Ben. Nobody trusts them. So, how do you feel?
Fantastic.
Excited?
Dream come true.
Yeah, very excited.
Yes.
Hoping that a special day, with our boys being there, which will be really, really nice for them.
Well, yes, you've got 10 guests going up, and we are assuming the boys are going to be 2 of the 10 guests.
Of course, yes.
Yes. So, and they'll be excited about going up to Gretna Green. Just how would you describe your first wedding? Because I know, you were describing the poppers on your dress ripped off, you stood on your train and you flashed your pants to the entire congregation. It was only a little minor hiccup, wasn't it, really?
Yes, very minor. It was a fantastic day. But like you said, we did have that hiccup in the church. And I would just like to relive that fantastic day with our family, but now with our 2 boys. It'd be fantastic.
Yes, so looking forward to going up to Gretna Green. We've got the there we are, a little. That is the first part of the journey from GMTV. Have you been to Gretna before?
No, never.
No, right. You've got such a treat in store. So you're gonna have a great day, and that's the most important thing, isn't it? Redoing your vows. Well, thank you very much for coming in. Sorry to the people who didn't. Sorry to the couples who
deserve to win.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for coming down. If you want to send Valentine wishes, by the way, to your loved one next week, send a short video message from your mobile to 07739 672 673. We'll put them on the website and show the best on the programme. Thank you.
The good
Cheers.
Can we just say thank you to everyone that voted, obviously. We had an awful lot of support, word of mouth around the schools, in workplaces and everything.
The schools when they were at school, of course.
Yes, our children were, actually.
Thank you, family and friends.
So much for everyone that voted.
Cheers.
I get to enjoy it.
He's looking forward to the big day.
To be honest, Al's looking quite happy there because obviously Brian's not here, so you can share yourself with both women.
I know, not too.
Happy days.
No, you can't.
Okay, the time is 7:43. The main headlines you're waking up to this morning. West Midlands Police have charged 5 men with terrorism offences following last week's raids in Birmingham. They'll appear before magistrates this morning. A post-mortem examination will be carried out today on the former model Anna Nicole Smith, who's been found dead near a Miami hotel. She was 39. And today's weather, rain in the southwest, will turn to more snow as it heads across the western parts of England and Wales. It's going to be a chilly day everywhere with a cold easterly breeze. Now then, a mother from Northamptonshire has taken on the banks, and hurrah, she has won. Tracy McInnes used the internet to help her in a battle to recover more than £16,000 in bank charges for herself, her friends, and after logging on just simply to a do-it-yourself website. Her successes include £3,200 for a friend, £2,300 for a relative, and £1,800 for a neighbour. £16,000 so far is what she's managed to recover. Tracy and financial expert Martin Lewis join us now. Good morning. Morning, Martin.
Good morning.
Nice to see you again. Tracy, first things first, congratulations. When you set about doing this, had you had any financial training?
No.
And initially, what were your thoughts? Was it from hearing Martin or hearing someone say, take on the banks, that you thought, I'm going to give this a go?
I just get fed up with getting bank charges and basically having no money to last over the next week, and the banks were taking the money off me.
Okay. So how easy was it?
Very easy.
Talk me through the process.
I asked the bank for 6 years of bank statements, tallied up all the charges as notified, sent them a 14-day warning letter that I would take them to court in 14 days if they didn't pay out. And then after that I filled in a small claims N1 for them, and then I got paid.
And all of these things are really, really easy to come by. You don't need any financial experience. It's just about you taking the time yourself to sit down and be a little bit organised and do it. Were you surprised at how easy it was?
I was really surprised. It's become a little more difficult now when I'm helping my friends. The banks are doing a lot of delay tactics, you know, things like that.
So obviously, Martin, I mean, this is great news. You've been in every
This is a tough woman, let me tell you. We've been talking beforehand. You don't want to mess with her. When the bank gave her a charge recently, she said, go on, break down the charges for me. Come on. You know, she's sitting here all nice and sweet right now. But we were talking, wow. And, you know, she's one of an army of people out there now who are simply saying, I've got my money back, I'm going to show my friends how to do it. We all need to take the banks on collectively as a mass group of consumers. 700,000 template letters have been downloaded on how to do this in the last 2 months. 700,
2 months?
700,000. And they're all on your website, by the way, on GM.TV, if people want them to go through the steps, the full information. This is becoming massive, and the banks are quaking.
Okay, so the banks are doing, like Tracy's saying, they're delaying tactics, and they're obviously getting a little bit more aggressive as well because they're aware of this happening. What should we do?
Well, it's very interesting. If you're going for less than £1,000, actually it's becoming easier. Often they're settling without even the threat of going to court. If it's more than £1,000, they're throwing their resources into stopping the bigger cases. But you know what? While there are no guarantees and you are about to take the big beasts of the banking world to court, everyone's won.
Every single person that's tried.
I haven't heard of a case, apart from one on a small technicality, which was nothing to do with the bank charges. Everyone's won.
And in terms of this, the size of these claims, is it the larger claims that end up going to court? Have any of them gone to court
Well,
yet?
above 5,000, well, you see, they can often go through the court process. Below £5,000, you're in the small claim system. So it can be done if you do money claim, as Tracy did, which is online. And frankly, often the banks don't put in a defence. 14 days later, you get your money. And if you don't get your money, you send the bailiffs into the bank. We've had people actually got the bailiffs going into bank branches to get the money. The bigger ones, well, actually above £5,000, whilst I don't think you should pay to do this ever, and there are some people out there going, no win, no fee, reclaim your bank charges. I wouldn't touch that. But above £5,000, you may want to get a solicitor, because then you're going in the proper court system, you can be awarded costs. But you know, 17.5 grand is the biggest individual payout we have seen.
And it's only going to get bigger, isn't it? 700,000 letters
700,000 in 2 months. So they're all going in the process. Courts are getting blocked up. The government needs to come and step in now and say, we shouldn't be blocking up the courts. There needs to be a special process. Everyone should get their money back if they reply. But that's me pushing politically.
You just worry that the banks are going to try and make the money up somewhere else.
That's what they'll try and do. Tracy, well done. Obviously, you'd recommend anybody to do this if they are faced with this. And it's simpler than you could imagine, isn't it?
It really is.
That's the most important thing. Thank you very much for coming in, Martin, as usual. It's great to have you. You can get all of Martin's advice, as he said, on the website, gm.tv online. And on your mobile, just text the word mobile, M-O-B-I-L-E, to 81189 and follow the instructions.
After 8, we're asking if teachers overreacted and closed schools too readily because of the snow. Text us your thoughts on 81189. And Richard Arnold's here with the weekend's television.
Yeah, Law and Order with a celebrity jury. Will they make the right decision in the verdict? First, though, if you fancy winning £10,000 and a home entertainment system, here's the competition.
In which detective series does Dame Helen Mirren star? Is it A, The Bill, B, Prime Suspect, or C, Cracker?
You can dial 09068 100 100. Yes, that's 09068 100 100. Or you can text A, B or C as your answer, plus your full name and address to 81149. You can also enter on our website, either online or on your mobile.